So Act 3, the final act of this first season of Arcane, is now available on Netflix. Does it provide a satisfying conclusion, or is it going to leave us hanging in a frustrating manner? In this act, there are more political schemings that are making the world just really treacherous. There are so many moral decisions at play, and as leaders manipulate each other, the ramifications become extreme, but they are a little obvious. But that obviousness isn't a detriment to the story. It's just illustrating the natural progression that we even see in real life when those in power influence others under the guise of the greater good, but they really just have bad intentions. Even familial relations are tainted and full of manipulation in this. Guilt and greed play a large part in the motivations of some of our characters, and the arcs are great so that we can see the internal conflict that's created within these relationships. I love the new art style that is introduced in a couple of scenes too. It's flat art with this graffiti style mixed with a lot of grunge. This was then mixed with a rap song, and the whole aesthetic was awesome with a driving intensity. As sort of dark as it is, I'm really enjoying Victor's story arc. I love how there are very real consequences to actions and that they carry emotional weight, even when things are accidental. Now there is a crazy action sequence that involves some bad guys in what look like deep sea diving suits. Now there are neon colors that streak across the screen as weapons are swung, and it just creates this wonderful visual effect. And then the fighting itself is a lot of fun because we get to see some Hextech weapons being utilized that allow the users to just go ham on their opponents. But even in this, there are scenes that have emotional heft that affect our characters. I love some of the subtle visual transitions and reveals because they allow some good tension and drama to come forward. Now, I would have liked some of them to have been a little bit more drawn out to increase that feeling even more, but as they were, they were good and effective. One that I really loved comes at the end of episode 8, and once we see a little of the visuals, we do know what is coming, but I liked where the reveal is taking the story. Even though the character progressions make sense and show us a lot during this act, sometimes the story feels a little rushed, especially as we bounce back and forth between the players and their scenarios. I think this is most obvious when it comes to the political aspect. There are tensions that are always high between the leaders, but I would love to dive more into the alliances and the schemes. And personally, I could do with a handful of more episodes to just dive more into each character and then give them greater depth. I love what we've been given so far. I just want more time with them to make the story even richer. It's heartbreaking to see Jinx's progression. It's been hard to watch this young girl trapped in a broken and fractured mind, but in this act, we see an even harsher reality that's inflicted upon her. I love how this world keeps expanding for us. In this act, we finally get to see more of the firelights, which that perspective adds a whole new dimension to the story. The visuals are beautiful, and I really enjoyed what some of the reveals mean for our characters, especially when it comes to relationships. I've really liked how each episode features at least one epic fight sequence, and the way these were visually accomplished were both exciting and beautiful. Now there's one that takes place between Vi and Sevica that uses some very creative image shifts, along with some realism to the actual fight as characters just need to take a breather from the exhaustion of battle. And while we've experienced some high emotions between Vi and Powder and then Jinx, the story continues to take us down the twisted path of their relationship. And then there's a combination of events that is visceral and visually chaotic, but it's still stunning. And dang, that conclusion is so weighty. I love what it means for what's to come. I just hope that we don't have to wait too long for a second season. So overall, the third and final act of Season 1 of Arcane is satisfying in story, but it is a little rushed in the character arcs, and I wish there were a few more episodes to help build out the interactions even more. The animation continues to be stunning, and I loved the expansion of style that we get to see. The drama is high, and the scheming is dramatic and effective in creating some wonderful story conflict that adds emotional heft to the decisions our characters make. And while this does solidify some character choices, the season leaves us really wanting more, which I think is a great place to be. There's no sex, brief nudity, some profanity, and a bunch of violence. I give Act 3 of Arcane 4.5 out of 5 couches. So has the series lived up to your expectations, or were you hoping for more? Where would you like the story to go for the next season? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.